welcome back, buddy. It's been a couple of weeks.
Dude, it really has been. It felt like it's been a month since we've sat down on the couch, and you know, I'm glad we've somehow weaseled in a podcast in the midst of a busy Christmas time. I know you're busy, you know, we're busy, and it just it's one of those things where I'm glad to be back.
Yeah, me too. It's good to see you, buddy.
Yeah.
So we do have a guest today. Our guest has a very impressive resume. He is Golf Magazine Top 100 Teacher in America, 2-time Philadelphia PGA Teacher of the Year, a PGA Master Professional, a TrackMan Certified Master Instructor, Catalyst System Master Certified, KVest Level 1 and 2 Certified. The list goes on and on. This is Dom DiJulia from DiJulia Golf Academy at Jericho National Golf Club. Dom, welcome to our show.
Thanks, guys. Happy to be here. Yeah, thanks for inviting me.
Absolutely. We're happy that you're here.
How's everything going over at Jericho?
Love it. Yeah, it's course is in great shape again. The club's going well. Membership is steady as all clubs are through COVID for sure.
How big is a membership over there?
I'll not exactly certain. I'm a tenant, so I'm not involved in membership and in daily play. But it is owned by a family, and so it's not bonds, whatnot. I'll guess 350, something like that. Whatever.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's a good number.
Yeah, it's really appropriate in that, in all fairness to the family that owns it, they need to have the play, right, and the rounds of golf and the meals or whatever. But you're not struggling to get a tee time. If you want to play golf, you're going to be able to play golf. They have the right amount of rounds to keep the course in shape, to keep pace play moving. So it's a really great place to play golf and enjoy the camaraderie and the golf course.
I've always heard nothing but great things about
Yeah.
Jericho, and
Yeah.
obviously I worked at Lookaway, which is down right up the road, and
Yeah.
I never had an opportunity to play it. I even know the family that owns it,
Right.
and still have yet to ever play there. How about you, Drew?
No, I've never been able to. I mean, not that I've tried, but I've never played it. In the years we worked together at Lookaway, I'm surprised we just didn't go over there and play.
We were working.
Well, that's true.
Well, you have an invite in 2024. Let's get you over.
Absolutely. Yeah, I would love that. Yeah, I mean, it's. I hear it's one of the hidden gems. So
Really is. Yeah.
That's
It's
good.
a phenomenal Herdzan Fry design, and again, the conditions. I've been there the whole time it's been open. 25 seasons in the bank now.
Wow.
Same as Lookaway. We
Wow.
opened the same year.
Wow.
99. So next year will be the 25th anniversary where they celebrate the official, But
So
it's
Lookaway and Jericho opened at the same time.
How about that?
I didn't know that.
I didn't either.
Yeah.
That's pretty ballsy for two courses to open up, that close
Sure.
and try to attract membership from that area, because there's a lot of people in that area. But at
Obviously, it's there's enough that want to play.
there
And
is.
they're two entirely different experiences. So they are really they're targeting different people. And the good news is the market supports it. It's so both places are phenomenal places to be, and they're just different. And it's
your
good.
center over at Jericho, how big is it? Talk to us a little bit about your teaching facility.
So we have, this time of year, we're indoors a lot, obviously. So we have Swing Catalyst, Michael mentioned, is the force plate. We have the dual force plate system. So we have, there's a couple of things. There's a pressure plate, which people are probably familiar with seeing their feet and the trace or whatever. But then there's the forces. That's kind of a big deal because forces cause motion. So I kind of describe watching your swing on video as kind of getting your stock tips from a newspaper through the U.S. mail versus on your phone, live. So forces cause motion. When we look at forces, we're looking at what's going to happen in the swing several frames ahead. So it's been game-changing to have that opportunity. So we have that. We have TrackMan inside as well, and we can use TrackMan to do anything. We can just look at numbers like what's your swing path and your attack angle, and just make sure your fundamentals are in order. Or we can go play around the golf somewhere, and we can do everything in between, like test. Okay, hit 10 balls to this target. Let's see how accurate you are. We can work on distance control. So we have everything we need inside. We have Sand Putt Lab as our putting technology. And then outside we have two separate tees. So there's two instructors that we have, myself and Mark Walder. So we kind of each, like I tend to be on one tee, he's on the other tee, and we have a green in between with 2 bunkers that's in shape like the rest of the golf course.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you're teaching all 12 months out of the year there?
Yeah. It's my silly name for myself is a dot on the map instructor. Like, I'm here, and if you want to come to me. So I don't chase the tour like some coaches. That was their business model. That was their decision. So I decided to have a family, and so decided to kind of stay in one spot. So I don't set up shop in Florida in the winter. I travel for education, but I don't run schools or whatnot. It's we're here to support players who want to work on their game year round.
Oh, wow. Okay. Wow, that's great. I didn't know that. And I'm really excited about this podcast because you and I, we've crossed paths plenty of times in golf tournaments and just different events throughout Philadelphia. And we've never really had the opportunity to sit down and chat and kind of get to know each other. So I'm super excited to learn more about you and, and what you do and how you teach and, just hear about all the success that you've had in your career. So I'm excited for this.
And me as well. I have during my time when I was raising a family, I stopped playing because I didn't have the time to play and to play practice. And I call myself a second tier player at my best. So I was getting beat by, guys at your ability level. But I would sometimes hang in there. I'd have occasional top tens in something and win a one-day event here and there. So I'm really looking forward to this to, pick your brain too. Nice. I like listening to good players. I learn.
I think everyone can learn something from everyone in the room, right?
Yeah.
Now, obviously, your experiences, they speak volumes of your success. So, we're all ears to you. But can you just talk a little bit about, your background? A lot of what we talk about here on the podcast is, getting to know people. Obviously we want to get more involved to your teaching philosophy and maybe a few of your students and provide some examples and things like that. But also get to know who you are as well. You could just kind of walk us through how you got involved with golf, where you were raised, how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, sure. And actually, I think it's kind of interesting because it set me up for teaching for sure. I started caddying at Aronimink as a kid, so Philadelphia connections there for sure, but did not play yet. I was a caddy, and I do the 5 rounds a year on Mondays with my dad's clubs when I was 2 feet tall. It was just an activity, right? I wasn't a golfer by any means, and I would kind of play the sport of the season. I'd play soccer at that time of year and basketball at that time of year, etc. Hang out with friends, playing pickup football, whatever. And then in junior year of high school, we moved, and that's when I didn't have to Connecticut. I got a referral to caddy and work in the pro shop at Brooklawn Country Club, another good golf course.
Yep.
And that's when I started playing because I didn't know anybody in the area to go play pickup basketball with or whatnot. And my job in the bag room gave me playing privileges in the evening as well. So that was kind of my start. So by the time I was starting, my peers, were shooting par, breaking par. So I'm way behind, catching up. And that kind of made me, I guess, a pretty serious student, really kind of digesting lots and kind of had a sense of urgency to it.
Yep.
And that really, I guess, served that background maybe served me well, as far as what I had eventually ended up doing, which is teaching.
Did you have a teacher at that time?
I ended up in Connecticut, so whatever I did here, playing my 15 or 20 rounds at Aronimink, by myself, we were just goofing around and having fun. So no lessons at that point that I can remember. I think I might have gone to Old Masters once and taken a lesson. Now that you're bringing that up, when I went to Connecticut, there was a gentleman, Dom Feely, that friend of my dad, who was in the basketball business, got out, went into golf, and so I took some lessons from him. And I got more serious about the instruction side when I went to St. John's University in New York. We actually had kind of strange schools in Queens, New York. We had a really good team. They got the best players from the area. Keegan Bradley, as an example, right? So we have a lot of the best playing head pros on Long Island and whatnot are from there, Westchester.
Okay.
You'd recognize a lot of names. So anyway, so I was really lucky to get into that group to kind of walk on the team and just be part of the team. I was not a contributor. But Michael Hebron was my first, serious instructor that I had the opportunity to learn from. Met him through my college roommate. So
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome. So did that then, like, as you mentioned about playing, then did the playing then take you to the instructional side of things, or how did that come about?
Definitely. So my still in college, as I said, I never literally went the whole 4 years, never played a single, tournament in the lineup. I played on the B team, right, and did some things like that, and we were pretty good. But but I just kept on wanting to get better. And I went to college, went to St. John's University because they had a sports administration major. So I did a double that in business to cover myself. But I thought I was going to coach basketball. And then when it's time to graduate, I'm like, am I going to do this basketball thing, or I want to see, how far I can make this golf thing?
Yep.
So I got into the golf business as an assistant pro because I wanted to keep on playing to see where I could take that. And then the teaching kind of showed up as something that I had developed the knowledge because I was studying to try and push it. And it was also kind of personally just part of our family background. My parents both had teaching experience, both were coaches. So it just kind of, that part of it came natural, let's say, to care about people and want to help them. And my late start in golf had me studying and trying to figure things out at an aggressive rate, let's say. And I guess as an assistant pro, as I started to improve as a player, some of the other guys would ask me, like, what's going on? And so I actually started to teach, my peers at a pretty young age. Actually, that was fun to have that opportunity.
That's really cool.
Yeah, they were curious and asking questions or whatever, and I had plenty of thoughts. I didn't necessarily know what I was doing, but I was happy to share what I did know.
Oh, that's awesome. So then that, I would assume then that catapulted you to pursuing more of a full-time role in the teaching world then.
Almost one interim step. So I did improve fairly quickly as a player, meaning fast improvement rate, not great level, enough that I ended up raising some money to play full-time.
Okay.
I had 4 years of playing full-time. And during that time, I was halfway through it, and it was not going well. It was not, I wasn't going to get there. It felt like at the time. I really thought about, like, do I really want to do this? And, just thinking on behalf of my sponsors, right, who are paying. The soul searching was like, I still do believe it's possible. I have work to do, and I believed it was possible. And I also had this, like, well, maybe I shouldn't. I should go into teaching because I had this little bit of taste of success as a teacher. But I decided that what I just learned in this past 2 years of playing full time, like as a teacher, was off the charts. So I was like, why wouldn't I want to do that for another 2 years, right? And so the combination of it all, I decided to keep going. And at the end of it, again, I did soul searching. Like, am I really going to teach golf for a living at the end of it? And I decided that I was really helping people develop as people through golf because they're going to play golf anyway. I don't sell people on playing golf. People who play golf want support, and I'm here to help them. And my real mission is to help people become better people through golf. And it's fun I love the golf part. I love the golf part of it.
And it's pardon the audience, I have a little head cold, so that's why I don't sound the same today. They care, Dom. They want to know why I feel so down in the dumps. But I think that is such a great statement that you just made. That you're wanting to help people in life and golf. Yeah. You want to make them become better people if you can. And there aren't a lot of people in this industry that think like that. They think that, I want to make them better golfers. I want to make them better golfers. I want to make them better golfers. They don't look at the other side of it. And I think that's what makes you a valuable person in the industry. And, I give you total kudos for that approach to this great game that we all love. I mean, it's remarkable that, because, again, there's not many people like that. There's a lot of teachers out there that, they want to make a quick buck. They want to make people better, but they want to make some money. But they don't really care about the person that's coming in and spending an hour and a half with them each lesson. And getting to know them, getting to know, what's going on in their life. I think it's something that it's just a special value that you add.
I appreciate that. I do think our profession in general is think of what it means to be a head pro. Michael was a head pro, right? You're in the golf business. We really are in the hospitality entertainment business, right? So, we're about making people's lives better, whether it's as a coach, whether it's as a host, whatnot. And I have taken the time to reflect on exactly how I can do that. But I think we're pretty good in general at it, and I really enjoy the opportunity. I think we're in a great profession to have the opportunity to touch lives. I really do. The reality is that this is a neat stat. I think 5 players per birth year play the tour. Right, that's it. If you're a male, you got 5 players. If you were born, I'm born in 1968. 5 players born in 1968 have made a legitimate career as a professional golfer.
That's a true stat?
That's a stat. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
So the point is, if I'm going to dedicate my career to teaching golf, like, what am I doing? Like, really? What's the odds of me catching the next Tiger Woods? That we're lucky that we both met each other, right? He grew up in my neighborhood and he found me and I'm prepared. The odds of that are low. That's not what it's about, right? I am working my tail off to be prepared. So everyone who chooses to trust me, I'm ready. Let's go do it. But it's really about helping people grow to become the most capable versions of themselves. Learn through this pursuit of golf. How can I be a proactive, disciplined, focused performer, right? Whether it's in golf or in the OR or in the courtroom, wherever you're going to go in your life. Let's help you through this experience be better prepared for it.
And I think I know the answer to this question, but do you find it easier with adults or children or young youth? Do you find that easier to connect to and to set that standard for people?
I tell you what, I enjoy the diversity I think I learn from each population. When I'm challenged, let's say, to teach someone that I don't get to teach very often, while I'm teaching them, I'm going to learn something that I can go carry back to the other populations. And my mission really is the same with everybody. It's that if I have a spouse who's just golf crazed, I didn't sell them on it, right? I'm just helping them enjoy golf more so they can go home and be a nicer spouse, right, and a nicer parent. And so that's just as important as trying to help the kid get the Division I scholarship.
Right.
So I just really enjoy. Somebody asked me one time, we started a 7 p.m. lesson and I was late. I'm pretty famous for not being exactly on time. Probably started the 7 o'clock lesson at 7:30. It's the last lesson today. Like, wow, I can't believe you're still here. Yeah. What time was your first lesson? 8:30 in the morning. How many lessons did you give? Well, I think it was 9 or 10 today. Like, oh my God, how do you do it? My answer is, well, Jim, it's my one time this week I get to see Jim. And if we don't make progress today, right now, you and I, then you're stuck. So let's do it, man. Let's get to work. So it's fun no matter who it is, whether it's a junior or an adult. It's your one chance to make an impact on that person's path, in that moment.
I like that approach.
Yeah, I mean, we really are all role models. At the end of the day, as a PGA professional, we are a role model. And to kind of piggyback off of what you're saying a little bit, I'll have people call me and say, hey, what package should I buy with you? And I always say the same thing. Well, we're going to meet first before we decide any of that information, because let's make sure we can build a relationship that's going to work for both of us.
Right.
Versus just, let's just kind of, then back to your point, Drew, let's just bring in as many people as we can.
Sure. And,
just do a mediocre job versus I'd rather have 25 students and do a really good job for 25 people than have a Rolodex of 200 players and hope that I can maybe touch 1 or 2 of them.
Right.
So I love what you're saying. That's really good. I mean, do you do things similar to that? Like, do you have any kind of process with your students as far as an interview or things like that?
You just mentioned my favorite word, process. So our we have a process in our business really for everything. It starts with when you pick up the phone or send us an email, however you get in. There's a process for that. But then once the coaching process that is very tight, our initial meeting, we call it an SA, new student assessment, and it's a 2-for-1. The first, it's 2 hours instead of 1 hour. It's 2 hours. The first hour is on us. I need to ask you questions. I need to learn about you, right? I don't have an opinion on what you should do with your golf or how often you should practice. I don't even have an opinion on what your backswing should look like until I measure you biomechanics, and watch you hit shots and understand what ball flight you like and what ball flight you hate. So that takes time. So our first meeting is a 2-hour meeting where, depending on the experience of the player, like if it was you, our interview would be 45 minutes, right? If I'm interviewing someone with your experience, same with Drew's experience, right? Somebody with a lot of golf experience, I got to get a lot of information, a lot of background, so I know the ebbs and flows, Then we have to do the biomechanics screens. Then we start hitting some shots, and then we have a lesson. So we're very serious about that. It's if you're going to make meaningful progress, that's part of why I like the dot on the map, silly phrase, model. I'd rather see someone, on a semi-regular basis, whether that's, is it once a week, once every other week, once a month, whatever. I'd like to see you for a long time on a regular basis versus let's have a 3-day school and try and the human brain doesn't learn that way. It's not, we can't, I could give you lots of great information in 3 days, but it doesn't make you a better player in 3 days, right?
Yep.
The relationship over time is what makes you a better player.
Yeah. No, understood. That's really good stuff. So how many, I guess you don't have to answer this specifically, but do you have a large amount of students? Is that why you're so busy, or is it more of repeat of X amount?
Yeah, it's more that we have players who come on a regular basis. That's it's people who are really dedicated for a period of time to work on their game. Prior to COVID, it was definitely mostly juniors. I would say that my personal book would have been 75% juniors. Once COVID hit, some adults started to treat themselves to the opportunity to say, hey, I'm not traveling as much. I have the time now to dedicate to this. And they already knew, lifestyle-wise, that if they didn't have a personal trainer, that their workouts in their basement, they had the great facility in their basement, they built it, right? But they weren't using it until they had a personal trainer come to their house, or vice versa. They go to them. So adults kind of, just the sign of the times, I guess, and COVID lifestyle. So now we kind of have my book is now kind of it's closer to half and half.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you said you had a lot of juniors before COVID. Talk about your involvement in the first tee of Greater Philadelphia.
Yeah, so the executive director, Bill Hyman's a member of Jericho, came in for a lesson years ago. In the interview process.
Is there a place where he's not a member at?
He lives in our area. I don't know about how many. All I know is the two.
He's a great guy.
He is a great guy.
He is the man. So through our interview process, he mentioned that, and I'm giving him a lesson, so I have to stay focused or whatever. But at the end of the lesson, I'm like, Bill, you're with the first tee. Like, we got to talk about this. This is great, right? So I, shared that this. What the first tee is about, what I'll just share with the audience. First tee is about character development through golf. It's not a let's build more golfers program at all. It's a let's support people who need mentoring and character development, and let's do it through golf. And not only are we developing the character and the healthy habits and life skills, 9 core values is what they've referred to. We're also introducing them to golf, which, man, golf is a great place to make connections and go places in life. Like, people in golf are good people who have connections and are doing well in life. So it's an amazing program. So my involvement's grown. I'll stop there to let you poke around more, but I'm happy to talk more about it.
Yeah, let's do. So when you do things for them, what are some of the things that you do for the first tee?
So my involvement started with before I ended up I'm on their board now, and not because I'm a typical board member. I don't belong on the board typically, right? I'm not a CEO or a CFO, but I'm the golf guy on the board. I'm the guy who has like on the ground experience of running the kinds of programs that they're running and whatnot. So that voice occasionally is helpful. So Bill invited me to be part of the board. Prior to that, I had done a little bit of coach training on the golf side. So what's already in place is the coach training for the character development and for safety. It's off the charts. They're great at. And what the vision was, like, hey, maybe if we get somebody who's serious about the golf side of it, we can maybe do a better job with retention. That's kind of the vision, is to And so I've gotten involved a little bit there, and looking to do more. That's something that's kind of on my radar, to kind of keep on pushing that, and see how far we can make that happen to support the coaches. And neat thing is, it's possible, right? Some of the coaches are PGA members who already coach. Some of them are, high school math teachers who love golf and want to give back through the first tee. Some are parents of the kids involved. And so it's exciting to have the opportunity to kind of give some core knowledge. What's some universal knowledge here where we can get everybody on the same page and make golf more enjoyable, more attainable. Good golf.
You and I sat together next at the gala this year that had Tom Watson as a keynote speaker. But I'll tell you, the kids that were representing the first tee that got up, you could just tell that they had the things that they've been introduced to in life have bettered their life. And, you could just tell that these kids weren't just some ordinary kids. These were smart kids, well-spoken. I think the one girl said that she wanted to get into broadcasting. Right. And, I mean, if you closed your eyes, you would have thought you were listening to a young, somebody young that was, into broadcasting. She spoke.
And she was 9 years old.
That was a thing.
She was a rock star.
And she was just rocking it. And, it was just really neat to see. I think it was one of my first really eye-opening experiences into what the first tee does. As somebody that isn't a assistant pro at a golf club, we donate a lot to the first tee. Anytime at the end of the year, and we've got bags full of clubs that nobody's come and claimed, and we wait a year before we do it. Yep. But I think this year we took somewhere in the realm of like 8 full bags. Yeah. And great. The guys down at John Byrne where they receive them, they treat you like you're royalty because you're helping the program, you're helping everybody there. And again, I think it's such a great thing. And it's not just the first tee of Greater Philadelphia. It's a huge organization.
Yeah, it was founded on the PGA Tour, right? The PGA, that level, Tim Finchem was the commissioner at the time, and George W. Bush, it was big. Nicholas and, a lot of, I think Palmer was involved as well. So it was a bold vision. It kind of spread, and so it's in all, it's lots of locations. We're very lucky because Philly's really nailing it. Philly's one of the really active and growing locations, and so it's fun to be part of. And it's definitely it's a great organization for sure.
To go back to a little bit of what Drew was saying, what does the first tee need? Like, what type of donations do they look for more than anything else?
That's a great question. They really, I tell you, I would say they're pretty open, and they're all about supporting the kids. So, for example, if you're, do you want to give the kids' families a gift card to fill up their gas to get them to the program, right? Do they need a gift card for a snack? Just little things like,
so it's
right?
Not necessarily
if you're a small business owner who, it could be like, it's amazing when I listen to the different ways that people get involved. Obviously, a check is always flexible, right? You write a check, you make a donation, and the first you can do what they want. But if you have other things like you're talking about, clubs, supporting the whole operation. There's lots of different things that are involved in pulling off all the programs they pull off.
Okay, so it's not just about the golf clubs then, or
yeah, it's not just that. I'll give you an example of the subcommittee I'm on, the committee, and I'm on the programming committee, and one thing we did this year that was really fascinating. Meg Willoughby she works over Villanova. She's our fearless leader, I call her. She's amazing. She's kind of gotten a group of us together on the committee. And so we listen to the mission of the first tee on the national level and say, okay, we're doing a good job, of spreading the word. But we want to do a better job of really getting to the people who need it the most, the poorest neighborhoods, right? Because it's golf, it's easier to get people who are not in the poorest neighborhoods because that's not where the courses are. So the pilot program we ran this fall was to find transportation And that sounds maybe simple, but it's not, because there's insurance implications and safety and waivers, right? This is 2023. This is not 1970 where you just throw them on a school bus and if somebody falls and hurts their head, nothing's going to happen. Like you got to cross your I's and dot your T's. Do that.
Way more red tape,
right? Yeah. So you got to be thoughtful, and then there's the expense of it or whatever. So. We talked about that part of it, right? And then how many kids can you do? So bottom line is the committee, we just kind of worked through all the details. We ended up getting 20 kids from 19121 is the zip code in Philly that is statistically challenged. The parents' commute is almost double the national average. They're like the 1 percentile of the commuting time that the parents have to spend. Single family home percentage off the charts. Income, the whole thing. It's just a challenged neighborhood. So we targeted that neighborhood to go in to the schools. We brought this luxury van into the schools, got the kids on the van, got them over to Walnut Lane. They had food when they got there. They had the golf program, and the program was a huge success. The kids loved it. And so that was one. And the pilot now, the goal is to do it now 20 times next year. That was one program. 20 kids came. And talk about, how can you help? So it was 20 kids. We did the whole thing for $4,000. So 20 kids got, 20 hours. So it was $10 an hour. Long story short, right? Wow. Where we got the kids out of there and the neat opportunity. So, so back to the creative ways. Like if you're a transportation company, we could use rides, right? If there's lots of different ways to help the first tee.
What is, and maybe you don't. What in your time there? What is like the biggest success story from the first tee? Do you have one?
You know what? It's one that touches me. It just inspires me. Is one of the young ladies who received a scholarship for high school. Is attending University of Pennsylvania right now, wow. And that's remarkable. Like that's the what does it take to get in the University of Pennsylvania? It's unfathomable, right? It's lots of kids are smart enough to go there and succeed, right? But to actually get in, to have the whole thing to where to go and succeed there, and so that's just to think that the program attracted people who have that capacity, who have the capacity to contribute to the world in that way, right? Think about that 9-year-old broadcaster. That kid's going to kill it, man.
She's bigger than golf.
It's so much bigger than golf. So you're finding people who really are contributing members of society that might not have had their opportunity. And so that one just touches my heart.
That should be the slogan for the first tee. It's bigger than golf.
I like it.
Yeah, I mean,
don't steal at the first tee. If you do, give me at least some kind of credit.
Right now they're going with game changers.
I got 4 witnesses.
It's game changers. I don't know if that's not going away anytime soon because that's what they're doing. They're changing the game. They really are.
Any like really successful golf stories from it, like people turning into really good players, or
one who you have to compete with, Lewis Kelly. He won the New Jersey State Open last year. Right, he won the Burlington Classic this year, right?
Yep.
So he's a first tee grad. He played college golf at a high level. Somewhere, where's he worked? Not too far, right? Right around the corner.
Yep, right around the corner. Yep.
Glen Mills, I think.
Golf Mills.
There you go.
You've done some work with him, haven't you?
Yeah. I'm now his putting coach. So.
There we go. Yeah.
So there it is. He is so inspiring.
Exactly. Yeah.
What a nice person. I met him when I was at Lookaway, and we were hosting the Pennsylvania Amateur. And he was on the range hitting balls, and I had no idea who he was. And I walked up to him, and I was like, "Hey, just want to say welcome. Good luck this week." And he's like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "You're not playing in the amateur?" And he's like, No, not at all. So then I got to know him a little bit.
Wow,
and found out he was working at Matitaconk at the time.
Got it.
And I mean, just what an impressive human being.
Yeah. Yeah, great presence.
Yeah, it's just like you meet him and you're like, wow, like your parents did such a good job with you. Like that was like immediately what I thought when I met him for the first time.
Yeah, I definitely love his presence and his it's funny. I root for him as a player, right? I hope he breaks through and makes it out on tour. But he belongs in the golf business. He's really good for golf.
Yeah, I agree. I may have actually said it to you. I think because we were looking for someone at Lookaway, and I was like, Lewis Kelly jumps out at me.
Yeah.
I was like, that's a guy that I would love to hire him to have him come work here.
Yeah.
It may actually been before you were hired at Lookaway, actually.
Couldn't get Lewis. They hired Drew. That's all right. Hey, that's you guys were shooting high, and you got me.
That's great. Yeah, no, that's awesome. I mean, I personally have not done any work with the first tee, and obviously I feel like terrible about it now. Like listening to the two of you, I've done more work with like PJ Hope and PJ Reach and things like that. But I mean, it sounds like I got to get involved. Like,
there's room.
Yeah,
Trust me.
I tell you what, though,
There's
Michael.
so much room.
There is, and I feel bad that I'm not involved in PGA Hope. So it's both are to me, very similar missions, right? The PGA Hope has, they're doing youth, they're doing military, so it's some wonderful things. And, it's we could share our attention. Maybe it's better to stay focused like you do, Bottom line, there's both organizations are phenomenal. I'll write some checks here and there a little bit to the, PGA Reach, just to do something, but it's, but they're both, we're what a great place we live in, right? Philly area to have the opportunity to work at these amazing courses with the history and of golf in our area, and these organizations that are really, not just putting on good golf tournaments for us to play in at great venues.
Yep.
They're also changing lives too.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's pretty amazing, Drew. We have a top 100 golf coach in our room, and we're not even talking about golf swings right now.
You know what? Honestly, I think that's a lot of the conversations that you have when you have somebody that, has the caliber and the experience that Dom has is, talking golf swings. I mean, that's what we do all the time. So it's nice to not have, a conversation or to have a conversation to where, it's about your experiences and, things that we're doing to help people, not necessarily, oh, well, I had a student today, he was having trouble hitting the ball, so I told him to square his shoulders and da-da-da-da-da, whatever. Those stories, we hear so many of them. And they just going to get to a point where one ear right out the other, because it's just like, I've heard it before. But some of these stories that we've heard today, you're not going to hear those on an everyday basis.
No. And that really is the whole purpose of the podcast, to really get to know people and, right? I mean, obviously you're a very talented teacher, but let's find out more about who you are as a person. And now we're coming to find that you're a very talented person, and you're a big-hearted person, and you want to do things to help people, and that's awesome. So I couldn't be any more happier with the direction that this conversation is going right now. So thank you.
Oh, thanks for having me. I'm very
so
happy.
What
to have
are
the
some of
opportunity.
your favorite courses in the area? I mean, you're going to say Jericho, but do you get out and play?
So I had when I first came to the section in '99, I did compete for the first couple of years. So I played 15 different golf courses that year, including Jericho, which is, as we said, fantastic. Did it again the next year, and then when I had kids, I literally didn't touch a club. Like, it was put them down for a good 15, 18 years, a long stretch of no golf. Then when I turned 50, I had done a weight loss challenge thing at Orange Theory Fitness. It was a neat program, so I got not only lost some weight, got strong. I was sick of getting knocked on the photo shoots at Golf Magazine and Golf Channel for having old clubs. So I treated myself to some new clubs. And then I turned 50 all in the same year. I'm like, wait a minute, 50, that's senior. Like, I could compete in senior stuff. And I have these new clubs, and I'm strong. Maybe I'll start playing golf again. So I'm dabbling. I'm getting back in a little bit.
Was that about like 3 years ago?
Yeah. It's so the last 2 seasons is when I made a decision in the last 2 seasons that I'm going to play regularly, even though I don't have enough time to really play and practice. And pretty much the only play I do are tournaments. But I'm just going to dive in, and I'm going to stink until I don't stink anymore. It's kind of my silly little slogan. I have so much respect for, what you do and what I was okay. Again, I was a B-level player, right? I was okay. I came to the Philly section. I think my first year I finished 15th on the points list or whatever, because I had just come off playing full time. That's not a fair, a fair contest, let's say. But I was competent, and now I'm not. All those years off, and I know so much more. And funny, it all shows. My knowledge, my increase in knowledge shows in that I can do. It's pretty good. I'm just not consistent, right? And the bogeys add up. And in the past, I was pretty good at finding a way to make par. Now I find a way to make bogey. But anyway, back to your question. Favorite courses? I haven't. So long story short, I haven't played enough to really be an expert. What a wonderful opportunity to grow up caddying the Ronimink, right? So the standard's pretty high right off the bat. I have recently played Lookaway a couple times actually over the past year or so. That's great. That's a great place as well. This spring, how about this spring, right? No matter where we played, the greens were insane, right? The weather pattern this year was
firm
dry,
and fast.
Firm and fast. It was mini major, I call it. Like the whole spring, we had 50 days of mini major.
Yep.
So just a credit to the area, the design of the courses in the area and the history of the courses in the area. It was a treat every time we teed it up this spring.
That's what I was just going to say. Like, it's really hard to ask that question because there's so many good golf courses in Philadelphia. I mean, you can go public to super high-end private, and everything in between, and you're going to find something good. Every zip code has a good golf course.
Yep.
And
if not
more than just one. It could be every zip code has like 5 to 10 good golf courses in it. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, we're blessed to be in this area.
No doubt.
What do we have? We have like 3 courses, I think, in the top 10 in the country.
Sounds
in the world, maybe.
Yep. And then we've got a handful that are within driving distance, like really close.
Yeah. I mean, this one that always jumps out at me is Jeffersonville in Norristown. I mean, it's an old Donald Ross course. Never been there?
Yeah.
It is absolutely awesome. Yeah. I mean, it's not very long, but it doesn't have to be very long.
Right.
But the layout is fabulous.
Yeah.
Conditions are always good. They're redoing it right now, but that's always been one that's really jumped out at me.
Right.
As like a, where you wouldn't think that going there, because it's just a public course.
Yep.
Anyone can go out there and play, but it really is a true hidden gem.
How dare you mention them over the Bucks Club?
True. I'm speaking the truth here, buddy. I'm sorry. I like the Bucks Club. I'm not knocking the Bucks Club at all, but it's hard to beat a Donald Ross golf course, in my opinion.
I can agree with that. I can agree with that. I mean, it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard not to beat a Toll Brothers course. Toll Brothers built a lot of the Bucks Club because they built a lot of those homes back there.
Got it.
So I think they built a 9 at where we are, and then another architect came in and built I think it was the back 9.
Well, I thought that was used to be Bucks County Country Club, if I remember.
Well, no, that's the name of it, and it's because they had a pool.
Okay, got it. So that's
we changed it to the Bucks Club because and I say we as I'm in ownership, but no, they changed it to the Bucks Club because we aren't a country club. We're not a private club, and when you say country club, you think it's private. We have so many people that call up and be like, "Can we come eat dinner there?" And it's like, of course you can come have dinner there. It's
interesting.
So just because we have a pool, and thank God we don't have a pickleball or a tennis court or anything like that, because it would be chaos. It's chaos there. I mean, we did so far to date, we've done almost 48,000 rounds.
Wow.
That's incredible.
That's a lot of golf.
And what's good for the Bucks Club is good for Drew Lockhart. I can tell you that much right now. But that's January to now.
Wow.
And, as people in the industry, you guys have, income that comes in from teaching and doing other things. My income comes from being at the golf course and being involved in day-to-day operations. So when there's no snow on the ground and there's 35 degrees, we'll have 60 to 70 people go out.
Wow, that's incredible.
And I don't understand it. They're all dressed like they're going skiing because they have so much clothes on.
It's about being outdoors.
I don't get
love of the game.
Well, I don't get that. I love the game too, but I don't want to be freezing the whole time. I don't want my nose dripping the whole time.
But golf is therapy for a lot of people. Golf's therapy for
I
me.
get it's for exercise. That's what we get a lot. And I keep saying, well, you can go to the mall and walk. That's exercise. It's warm in the mall. And if you want to stop at the end and get something to eat, go right ahead.
I played Winter League last year, and I really enjoyed playing in the cold. And
Did you really? Well?
Yeah, I didn't think it was that bad. I thought it was fun. It was to me, it was a challenge. I accepted the challenge. Like, you get to roll the ball anywhere you want. Right. If the water's frozen, you can hit off of the ice. Like it's a challenge. Look, would I do it every day? No, but I think it is
playing
fun.
one or two events in the Winter League. I see what you're saying.
I think it's fun to go out there and do stuff like that. I mean, why not, right?
Well, I mean,
I don't want to be a golf. You can't be a golf snob, right?
Yes, you can.
No,
trust me, I can.
No.
Dom,
I think it comes down to time, right? If people have the time to do it, I don't want to do it because I don't have the time to do it. That's not what I'd rather practice a little bit and try and get sharper, or work out in the wintertime.
Right.
But if you have time, if you're retired and golf's part of your life, why not?
Well, this Winter League, there's not a
bundle
lot of
up
people
and
that
go
are
play.
retired.
Yeah, but we play for money in that, though.
That is true. You guys do that. Who doesn't play money or golf for money? I had a question.
Sorry, I interrupted you.
No. I had a question for you, and now I can't think about it.
Well, if you can't think about it in 1 second, I'm going to ask my question.
Go right ahead. I'll think about it.
So I want to transition a little bit into teaching and get to learn a little bit more about, your teaching philosophy, and just kind of like what would be the difference if you had somebody who, say, is a beginner golfer or, say, higher handicapper versus a better player or inspiring touring player. Do you treat those people the same? How would you make adjustments to your teaching to that if you do at all?
Yeah, so I would say the adjustments are to the person, not the level of play so much. The philosophy that I'm passionate about, a couple of things that I feel like that we as an industry can continue to improve on. I've been lucky to have good mentors. Golf is a sport and a game. And so helping people learn to play it as an athlete, let's be an athlete playing a game. Somewhere along the line, the way we learn golf is very technical and segmented, and we look at videos and and I use all this stuff. Trust me, I'm as geeked out as anybody. But we got to make sure that people know that it's a motion, right? Like you don't throw a pitch by hitting positions. You don't hit a home run by hitting positions. You develop power and strength and whatnot. And so anyway, the long story short is the thing that's the same, whether it's an elite player or a beginning player, is I'm going to start with a biomechanics screen. That the screens that Mike Adams and Terry Rolls are kind of the guys who lead the way now in this and have brought a whole community of both golf instructors and scientists together to narrow down these screens. It tells us like why, are you going to be a player who has an upright backswing or a flat backswing? Are you going to be someone with a stronger grip or a weaker grip? You need a wide stance and narrow stance, flare your feet, all those things. It's just based on the way your body's going to swing a golf club different than mine, different than yours. So the thing I'm the most passionate about is, all right, let's figure out who you are. And in our first day, I'm going to tell you some things about your swing that are the rest of your life, because it's your style, right? So that's the thing that's in common. The thing that's different is, again, not so much ability level. You teach a new golfer engineer, and you're going to get more technical than you're going to teach an elite golfer who is a field player. You're not going to use the technical words, right? You're going to let it be more feel or in it, and I'll take responsibility for the mechanics.
Yep.
And I'm going to listen to your feels, if that's the way you think, right? You just work with people.
I like that. Yeah.
I mean, I like that approach. I mean, and I'm sitting here listening to you talk, and please forgive me if this sounds really so stupid, but golf is the only sport that I can think of that you can instruct and you can teach all age groups. You're not teaching 65-year-old guys how to shoot free throws. Right. You're not teaching them how to hit, or maybe tennis. You can say tennis to a certain extent.
Right.
But golf really has to do about flexibility. How flexible is the guy that you're teaching. If he can't bring the club back to a certain point, you're going to have to teach him from that point on. You know, unless he wants to decide to just start doing some exercises to make himself more flexible. You know, one of the things that I struggle with is, you know, showing guys very simple exercises to do to get them in place, and then I see them, you know, a week or two later, and it's like, I didn't get a chance to work on it. And, you know, I don't know how much you run into that, but what are some of the things that you do when you run into somebody that says, nah, I didn't get into it this week, and they're back for another hour and a half with you? You know, are you the type to get in their ass about it, you know?
I'm not, actually, believe it or not. To me, it's people choose their journey. And I actually had someone come in this morning who's a new golfer. Her family, her husband plays, her kids play. I've coached her kids, coached her husband a little bit. She came in. I saw her 2 weeks ago. Asked her, "What have you done?" She had practiced once, and I said, "That's amazing. Like, it's December. You're a new golfer, and you practice. Like, and you're here in a lesson. You drove a golf cart in the cold to a lesson. Do you realize what that means in April? Like, you're going to actually have something." In April, she felt guilty that she only practiced once. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. That's like, you're a rock star. You're killing it. Like,
right.
You're a mom preparing for Christmas. How did you find time to do the once? And I can't believe that you didn't have to cancel today, right? So to me, we're here to support the player's journey. And if they're interested, like, if you're a gym member, you know, if you sign up for the program at the gym and you're Wednesday night at 8:30 or whatever at the gym, that counts, right? That gets you to the gym. Right. So if someone signs up for the lesson, that is their training sometimes, right? If that's all they got, that's all they got.
Getting there.
It's, you know what? If they have the desire to do something, I'm happy to support them in that something. We always have to match the goal, the timeline, and the effort. My job's to keep people sane. Like, all right, what's your goal? What's your timeline? I'll tell you if that's attainable or not. We're going to adjust one or the other. We have to, right? If you say, you know, it's 6 months, well, then I got to say, okay, the goal might have to be not as aggressive. Or if you say the goal has to stay the same, okay, I might need a year, suggest 2 years, or whatever. And what's the effort? We just got to balance it. As long as they're in balance, you're happy, I'm happy, right? And to me, there's no judgment. It's your life. You decide where golf fits in your life, and I'll be happy to support you as long as you can keep those three. You got to stay sane. Keep those three things in balance. And
no, I agree with that.
I think what you're asking, Drew, is more of when you give someone a lesson and they come back and say the lesson didn't work. Is that kind of where you were going with that?
No, I think I was really going back to, you know, certain groups or certain types of people that you teach. You're going to have some people that work on it. You're going to have some people that maybe work on it a little bit. Then you're going to have somebody that didn't work on it at all. Or they tried to go on the course and work on it, and they come back to you and say, oh, it didn't work. And it's like, well, number one, the course is probably the worst place to work on it, in my opinion, is to go out there after you've gotten a lesson and being like, all right, this is what I'm doing. And when it doesn't work and you haven't practiced it, you automatically have negative feelings about that lesson or that process. And to me, it's just like, you know, the stuff that I teach more kids than I do, or youth than I do adults. But the adults that I've run into just seem really stubborn. Yeah. And, you know, it's fine because you can keep coming back to me, keep paying me the money. You know, I do feel some sort of, I don't know what the word I would say. It's not regret, but I do feel a little bit bad that they're not making progress. Sure. And does it, you know, do you feel that way? I mean, when someone's just kind of just teetered or flattened?
I can remember for the rest of my life, there's two players I have the opportunity to really had time with that didn't make a lot of progress. I'll never forget that experience my whole life. Right? I'll always wonder, what didn't I know yet? How could I have connected? For sure. So I definitely feel a tremendous sense of responsibility for, you know, if somebody trusts me to help them. I'll wake up in the middle of the night and have ideas. I'm driving in the car and I'm having ideas on behalf of people. We're pretty fortunate in that having really dedicated myself to the continuing education and whatnot, I kind of say we're retail golf instruction. We're not inexpensive. We're tenants. It's not, I don't have a salary. So when you do it the way I do it, it's run as a business and a service, and we're retail. So we don't nobody comes to us who's not serious. We've already have you're not walking in the door unless you're very serious about improving your game. Right, you're not going to pay our price if you're just kind of dabbling and you want a quick fix. So we're very lucky in that regard. And then the other thing is, the highly personalized approach is not just to golf swings; it's to lifestyle. It's to say, okay, well, now that you've described that lifestyle that you don't practice, I'm not going to do something that's technically challenging. I'm going to find the low-hanging fruit in your setup. Maybe I can sneak a setup change or two in there. And we're going to look at your decision-making on the golf course. We're going to look at your ability to read the lies. We're going to look at your ability to, let's go watch you hit balls off the hills. Do you know how to adjust when the ball's on the hill versus not? We're going to look at your green reading. There's a lot of ways to reduce scores to make the game more enjoyable that is not technical. So it's kind of listening, kind of going in there. We call it the breadth and the depth. Like I have a lot of topics I know about as a golf instructor. And some of them I'm deeply knowledgeable about, like I'm really serious about green reading. I think it's a thing, right? And the swing, I better be pretty prepared to manage no matter who comes to me. I know a little bit about fitness. I know enough, right? Not an expert. I know more about the mental game. So if you have that breadth and depth, then you're ready to face the person in front of you, and you have something to serve them. So there's some way to help that person if you listen to who they are, right?
Yeah.
The game's got so much to it.
So I want to talk about a couple of things, and then Michael is going to give me an evil, dirty look, and I'm okay with that because I get those a lot from him.
Can I ask one question before that?
Go right ahead, sir.
Just because I know where you're going.
Yep. Go right ahead.
I know you too well. So, sorry, I just lost my train of thought real quick. So we've had a few teachers on our podcast, and I've asked them all the same thing. And I'm just curious to get this answer because it's always come up throughout my career because obviously my focus has really been on playing and, some management side of things and, more of a golf ambassador role is what I've always tried to present myself as. And a lot of people have always said to me, well, it doesn't matter if you don't have to be a good player to be a good teacher. And I'm curious to your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so I think that I do think that's true. Like you can be a teacher. Being a teacher is its own skill set, let's say. So you can be a good communicator. If you care about people, if you listen to people, if you communicate well, you can be a good teacher. Being a subject matter expert is its own thing. So you could not be a great player and be a good teacher. You could also be a subject matter expert. You could learn, study a lot. But I do think to coach people into performing well at golf, that you have to have pushed your own game and challenged it to a certain level because you have to understand what people are going through out there. So I think that the idea that there's and I don't want to pretend to be it's not my role. That what's that limit look like? I think you got to have yourself. I think you got to put a lot of time in your own game. You have to have had enough both successes and failures because you learn from both. And you have to have, I think, competed a little bit. You have to know what it's like to have it count, that the score counts, not just so I think a playing background is important. I really do. To coach, certainly if you're going to coach people who are trying to perform, right? If you're an ambassador, and if you're going to take a traditional head professional job and be an ambassador, and your job's to be a teacher, you'll probably have a personality already that way, and enough subject matter knowledge to kind of give tips while you're playing with members of pro-ams, that's a different scenario. But if you're really going to be a coach, I think the playing background is important.
But how many, and now that you say that, I'm sitting here thinking in my head, that's not how players, when they're out of their, when they're just not cutting it anymore, they just can't hang with the big guys. They're not going into teaching. They're going into broadcasting.
So some are teaching.
Some are. But you would think when you look at that top 100, okay, when you look at that,
Yeah, I think it's different. I think they're coaching at a totally different level, though. Like, well, Robert Rock would be an example. Padraig Harrington does a lot of stuff now involved with teaching.
I love listening to that. I'll listen to every word that guy says forever. He's a genius.
Oh, just because
Lee
of the way he
Trevino.
talks.
Well,
yeah.
no,
His
these guys are
fabulous.
Gary Player. If we could put Lee Trevino and Gary Player in the same room, they'd be giving each other a lesson. Like, and I want to be a fly on the wall every time they get together. Right? These guys are passionate learners still. Right?
Yeah, I don't think they're doing it to get onto any type of list. I don't think
No,
anyone's even looking
I'm just
at
saying,
them.
you just really don't hear you hear about the guys that are behind the scenes that are like Dom. You hear about those guys that are teaching the guys on tour and that kind of thing, or big collegiate teachers. You see more of that than you do of let's just say I'll give you an example. Kevin Kisner. He's going into the booth for 2 events to see if it's something. He's replacing Paul Azinger, seeing if that's something that he can, do. He's still going to try to play on tour, but what I'm saying is you don't really ever see guys that retire and don't go to the senior tour automatically just get into teaching somewhere.
Got it. Yeah.
They've made enough money to where they don't need to teach, and if they do it out of the kindness of their heart.
Yeah, I think that's where I was just going to go with that. Like they're doing it more out of a passion for the game of golf than they are anything else moving forward. At least is what it's perceived that way. At least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You may know some of these guys personally, so you may be able to comment
absolutely
better.
yes. Stan Utley's a great contributor. There's lots of great contributors who are former new younger guy. Kevin Parker, first short game chef. You probably heard about him. He's won on tour, and now he's into teaching. He's retired younger, from playing. But no, I think that's. And I don't know that you have to get. Again, I don't want to, be the judge and jury as to what's the line.
Right.
To how good you have to be as a player to because lots of coaches didn't make it to the tour and have coached players to win multiple majors. So that's not the answer. You don't have to make it to the tour, but I don't think you can not, like, if you didn't pass your playing ability test, it's probably a further line than that, as an example, right? You got to go a little further than that.
Yeah, and I think you answered the question perfectly. I just think it's more about like what you said though, and everyone's kind of answered it the same way in a way. Like you kind of need to know what it's number one, what it takes to get there. Yeah. Number one, and two, like what it feels like, what those feels are coming down the stretch. You 18th hole, and you better hit this green. If you don't hit the green, you're not winning the golf tournament. Right. So I think you answered it perfectly. I don't think there needs to be a measuring stick on it necessarily.
Exactly. Yeah.
Just more of just having that knowledge of what to do. And I think, there's some coaches out there that don't play, but they coach very high level players that share all this feedback with them, and they learn through their players as well. So, and I'm not saying it in a negative way of like, oh, well, if that person was never a good player, they're not a good teacher. That's not what I mean by it. Yeah. I'm just trying to gather that information, how's everyone looking at this?
Sure.
And how can I learn from that and our viewers?
I'll give you a little, sneak preview into. I know that I'm not alone. I can't be alone in this. So when I mentioned when I came to the Philly section, my assistant pro days were in the Met section actually. Grew up here in Philly, moved away Connecticut, went to school St. John's, New York. Right. So now my assistant pro days, I improved quickly. My last few years as assistant, I was one of the top 10 of the points list. I was pretty good player as an assistant, right? So now I do the playing full-time thing, come here Philly, and I'm okay. And so I was known as a player teacher. Like I was as a guy who was a good player who, like, he's a guy to go take lessons from. But my intention was to become a teacher, like it was my job, right? So then over time, the player part of it, I stopped playing, and that became less of a thing. And I really did get more serious. It's funny, when I got into the Golf Magazine Top 100, it although I aspired to that and hoped for that someday, when I got the letter, it hit me like the sense of responsibility. My gosh, I better really, I took my education way further once I had that sense of responsibility, let's say. So back to the kind of the peek behind the curtain of a teacher. once I became known as a teacher, the standard of if I go play mediocre or poorly, that doesn't look good. That has an implication on your brand. And so a lot of teachers need to stop playing, because when you teach, you're doing it hour by hour. You get paid for the hour you're there, right? And so you really don't have you can't do it. It's very difficult. Mark Sheftick's a guy I have a tremendous amount of respect for. I don't know how many lessons you give, but the guys who actually teach and keep their games sharp enough to do well, it's a remarkable feat, in my opinion. So long story short is, if you look at the best teachers, some of them don't compete anymore because without the time, they're not going to do well, and they just really can't afford to do it.
Yeah.
For branding reasons. Just let's be really practical about it. And if they won the lottery, they'd go back and compete, and they do okay. Right? They're not bad. They're just bad because they don't have time to play and practice. Does that make any sense?
Yeah. No. Absolutely, 100%. No. I've always said, it's funny that you say Mark, because like that Mark was one of the first pros that I reached out to get lessons from in Philadelphia. And the only reason I reached out to him was because of how good he played and taught. And I'm like, man, I really think I could learn something from this guy, just because of how well he manages and balances these two things.
Right.
You know, and I think now a younger, newer name now would be Braden Shattuck now, that's teaching a lot and playing at a very high level as well. So, it is interesting to kind of watch all that, right? And and now you say that, like, it does make more sense, like why some guys just stop teaching or stop playing. Right.
And family, throw the family thing in the mix too, right? Yep. So mine was a little bit of, because so whether you're just building a business and you don't have time to play and practice, or you're building a business and raising a family, so man, getting it all done is, so if teaching is your thing, if that's your brand, it's a little challenging to put yourself out there. Frankly, it wasn't fun. Like I didn't want to do it because it wasn't fun. If I wasn't going to compete at the time, I went from playing full time, and I was improving. I wasn't ready for the tour, but I was improving, so that was fun. Because I still had the hope of it could get better. Yep, but as soon as I stopped putting in the effort, it wasn't getting worse, and that was just not fun.
Yeah, no, exactly.
So if it's not going to be fun, and it's going to be time away from my family, and it's going to be bad for the brand, the business, like I don't think I need to do this.
Yeah, no, so, I can understand that and respect that totally. I mean, obviously, we're both entrepreneurs. With our businesses, and it's hard to take time away from your business. Right. It puts food on the table, so you better be there. So I want to talk a little bit more about like the technology that you use. Although Drew did have a question. Hang on. Let's go backwards.
No. Let's keep going down this road, because mine going down a different road.
All right. Yeah, you're going to take us in the left field. That's okay. All right.
No. There's not a road to left field. I'm just going to take us down a different route.
So I'd like to learn a little bit more about some of the technology that you use. Obviously, TrackMan Golf. Swing Catalyst, and then anything else that you have that you would like to discuss that maybe we didn't mention or I didn't read off of your profile.
Sure. So I think those two are, as far as generally, what do you mean by the question? Those are the two most important, and I'll share the why. If you're trying to learn golf or improve at golf, let's stay focused on what the essence of the game. The essence of the game is control the ball through a field into the hole, right? So it starts with ball flight. Why does the ball do what it does? And then back it up a little bit. Now we have to talk about the club delivery, because the ball sitting there and doing nothing unless a club makes contact with it. So we need to understand a little bit about the way the ball flies. We need to understand what the club has to do to make it fly. We could step up to a golf course and see a certain shot we want to hit. Now we got to know what the club has to do to it. So, we use TrackMan as the leader, in that world. They were first, they were early, they were accurate. It's research quality, and they have not stopped. They have so many people in R&D, and it's the software keeps on improving. So there's a why that, and whether or not you have a different technology than instructor, there's a why. Having a coach that has technology that has a launch monitor makes sense. That the launch monitor is good enough standard, right? Because measuring ball flight, measuring club delivery, I don't care what your swing looks like. I don't care if you're male, female, short, tall. The club has to hit the ball to play golf, right? So that's the most important. And then the second thing is, as I said earlier, the forces cause motion. So really studying and testing. Like if I make a suggestion to a player, hey, I think your swing needs to be a little flatter or more upright, whatever, and we try it, or I suggest a grip, I have to hold myself accountable by measuring, did it work? And so measuring and testing with that technology is, very deep. It's not an opinion anymore. It's not like, well, it looks better. Your swing looks more like a tour player's swing. Well, okay, but did it work? Did it generate more?
Could you give us an example of that, like how that would work? So like basically like, as me as a player, I like to get a little bit more on my left side.
Yep.
Right. What is that doing to my golf swing?
Yep.
That I guess would be hurting it or helping it.
Right. So players who would be so Mike Adams' language is there's rear post, center post, and front post players. So if we look at I'm older, so I'm going to go way back and say Curtis Strange and Colin Montgomery. Those are guys who are today. Brooks Koepka moves a lot off the ball to the right, so that's a rear post. And then the front post, Bryson, prior to putting on the weight and gaining the speed, he was a classic front post. The stack and tilt guys are all, front post. So front post players are going to kind of basically take the right hip and kind of turn it around back behind your left leg, let's say, and kind of spring load your left leg in the backswing. And then when you're coming through, there's nowhere to shift. You're not shifting a lot. There is a little pressure transfer for sure, but now you're kind of springing back up off of the leg. So a front post guy is going to use more vertical force, and a rear post guy who moves all the way to the right is going to use more horizontal force. So depending on the look of your swing and what your screens tell you, we're going to make sure you're using the correct forces for your swing style.
Are you seeing any measurements as far as like the front post, middle post, rear post, and then like is there any direct correlation with club path or swing direction to that?
Absolutely, and so the answer is certain personal characteristics will lend you towards being and I like the words that Mike and Terry are using now: a swing right golfer, a swing left golfer. Let's just say right-handed golfer.
Okay.
So certain characteristics would make you a swing left golfer, which theoretically might make you a cut player. However, you could change your stance line and turn that into a draw as soon, by closing your stance, right?
Yep.
And vice versa. Swing right golfers could cut the ball. While your personal characteristics definitely change your overall swing plane, there's lots of setup features to kind of play with whatever flight you want.
Okay. All right. Because what I notice is, and sorry if I'm getting personal, but I like to, if I want to hit a cut, I like to feel a little bit more weight back. If I hit a draw, I want to feel more weight forward.
Yeah, and that's that. So the more left you are, like the further left you move yourself, the ball essentially moves behind you, and you're going to swing more right, and that promotes a draw. That's a draw shape, and then vice versa. If you stay back longer, the space is to your left now, right? So you can swing left.
So for me, it's like I'm gonna aim my club path more left and keep my weight more back, and just hammer away as hard as I can, and know it's always gonna go right.
And one of the things that I hope your audience picks up on, what you just said is you're going to hammer away. What Michael just said that's really important is that you're making a committed swing. You're making a dynamic and athletic swing. You're not steering it. So no matter how you do it, right? If I ask Mark Shefting and 10 other great players how they do it, it's all going to be different. But one thing's in common: they're hammering away. They're committed.
Yeah, I mean,
I love that.
Yeah, I would never want to steer it because then it's always going to go left when I steer it.
It's not going to work, right?
Yeah, it's never going to go the direction I want.
Right.
I struggled with that for so many years, and this year I finally figured all that stuff out. Good. Finally changed my pattern to going right.
You're going to owe him some money if you keep talking about your golf swing.
Why?
Because he's giving you some tidbits.
I'm giving it to the audience. I'm telling you what.
No,
so listen to what Michael.
This is part of the podcast. This is
yeah,
to help
But
our
this is the
listeners,
first
Drew.
part of the 2-hour lesson. It's the introduction to get to know you. He's setting you up. You're going to be seeing Dom in another 2 weeks.
I'm just trying to help I'm just trying to help guide it out to our viewers. That's all.
Yeah,
that's all
I'm
I'm trying
just
to do
kidding.
here. That's it. We can
And
talk
what's-
about
what's-
your golf swing if you want, Drew.
What's gold is that you said that you weren't successful, right? So here's a great opportunity for the audience to learn. Like, you were aware of, you're a very accomplished player, great playing resume, right? Yet you're aware of what you weren't good at, your cut shot, and you kept on finding a way, and it ended up being a combination of, it sounds like, two things: aim a little left, keep your weight back, and commit. No matter what the two things are, like the end commit is the thing that has to be there. And a lot of players, when they're trying to learn something, they don't keep that in the equation. Like, it has to be something that I can make an adjustment and make a committed athletic dynamic swing. Like, right, no matter, otherwise it's not worth. Don't even go down the road. Don't test it out, right? Only test things with committed swings. Try anything with a committed swing.
It was the funniest thing. I was playing in the spring meeting this year when I finally like committed everything, and I'm with my coach playing with him, and I said, I'm just going to aim out of bounds every hole.
Yeah.
It's going to force me then to make sure this ball cuts.
It's awesome.
Right, and it was obviously it's a tournament. You know, we're there more to have fun, as you know, in the spring meetings. But it's still like you can still feel a little bit of pressure in that. Sure. You know, and feel that obligated to perform, because at the end of the day, I don't want to go out there and shoot even over par either. Right. You know, so especially in a scramble format. Right. So there was some pressure on there to hit good shots, and that helped tremendously to, like I said, hammer away and just commit to that and just see it work in an actual event. Yeah. So all right. That's good to know about those ground forces and kind of how that works. And obviously, I want to learn some more from you from that. I'm gonna go see him. You should probably come and we'll go hang out with Dom.
I definitely would like to come hang out.
Yeah.
I mean, we have a mutual client, as far as he teaches the father and I teach the kids, and. Anytime that, I'm there to have a lesson with the kids, I hang out with him afterwards. We talk shop and golf for about 2 hours, and he'll tell me the things that he's working on with you. And the way he explains it is in layman's term. So he's not talking over my head. I am in the golf business, so, it would be a little bit harder to talk over my head a little bit about things. But, it's very cool how the dynamic works out, where you can meet people and the connections that you can make in the game of golf.
I got to tell you my favorite story about how I have language, right? I bring my, all the certifications I have. I can use golf language, of course, right? But when we talk about personalized coaching, my job's to help someone experience something that's more effective, and then help them label it in their way so they remember it. So I have to remember their language, not the other way around. So one of my favorite little stories of that is I met a young woman who, I'm going to say she's 5th grade, 6th grade at the time, and we have a lesson, and at the end of it, she's with her dad. I say, okay, now we're going to do notes. See, at the end of the lesson, we do notes to kind of, summarize the thing we learned, and so remember when we started, when you go into the golf to hit the shot, we worked on your posture. So what do you want to call that? Like, what does that? What words do you want to use to describe what we did with your posture? And she said cookie. I said, no. I'm sorry. Let me repeat the question, right? And I repeated the question. And she said, yeah, cookie. Like, okay. So why don't you? So after I knew that I had gotten the question through, the second time I was like, all right, so I'm missing something. So why don't you explain what you mean by that? She said, like when you lean over the counter and reach to go grab a cookie from the cookie jar at the back of the counter, that's right. So that bending from the waist, bending from your hip sockets, right? She calls cookie, like that's her language for it. So, and the rest of the notes were cookie, soft, soft. So it's cookie, bend from the hips, soft knees. Soft arms. And this kid got in great posture, and I'll never forget that lesson the rest of my life. I didn't teach her those words. That was her imagination. Kid's got an amazing imagination. And I'll remember that forever. So one of my favorite things that you said is that Rob comes to you and says he's talking language, and he's talking his language, right? And if he was an engineer, he'd be talking a different language. If he was an artist, he'd talk a different language. That's his language.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but he is probably, in my opinion, every golf instructor favorite person on the planet, because he's always trying to get better. Yeah. He's always playing all these nice courses that he likes to tell you about. You know, he is a true golfer. Everywhere he goes, he plays golf. Yeah. You know, I was in the lesson last week, and he comes in, hey guys, look what I got. And did he get it from you? Was it the
impact ball?
Yeah. Is that what they call it?
Yep. Yeah, the green and blue ball.
Yeah. He said, look what I got. And, of course, my students start picking it up, and I'm like, guys, leave it alone. You don't know what it does right now. He's like, I can totally do it. And I'm like, no, you can't. And it's like, so it's just, you know, I wish I had 3 or 4 of those, you know, guys like that, because their drive and their want to get better just makes me want to be around them. You know, like I said, after the times that I give lessons, we sit there and hang out and we talk about life. We talk about golf, but we talk about just, you know, life and you know, golf is what's done it. Golf is what's brought us together. Yeah. And I will be ever so thankful for that. And, you know, like I said, it's funny because when you run into somebody that is so enthusiastic about the game, it makes you love what you do just a little bit more.
Isn't it great? Yeah, it's what a wonderful opportunity we have to you know, to work in these jobs. You know, some people come and look at my facility and said, yeah, I have best office in Bucks County. It's a great office, right? And the people are, you know, we're supporting them in their passion, and it's definitely an awesome opportunity.
So I'm gonna go down my road, and I love going down this road.
I hate this road.
So a couple of things have been, you know, we touch on the PGA a little bit. We don't really talk about winners and this and that. Maybe a master, you know, a major every now and then. But the news that they rolled out this past week, the RNA and the USGA, about rolling the ball back. We've talked about it a little bit on the pod. Apparently, it's a serious thing now. Being instituted in 2028 for the players and 2030 for amateurs. Yep. Is this a good thing, or is this something that they should maybe look into doing something alternative than the ball?
So it's you know, the phrase you know, no such thing as bad press, right? So is this good for golf? Yes. It means the governing bodies are paying attention, and that they're really if distance was not monitored, then courses could become obsolete, shall we say, right? Some of the great designs, and then we would end up, you know, being where if you're not 6'11", you know, and an Olympic athlete, you can't play golf, kind of thing. So I'm glad that there's somebody's paying attention. Very much on the PGA of America's side of you know, whatever needs to be done, we don't want to make it more difficult for the average golfer, right? So right now the average golfer stands to lose. I haven't done the math to figure this out. I think this would be the right way to say it. 2%, 3%. It's not. They're not losing 12, 15%, right? So I'm not concerned about it because it's a small percentage. I do think that players play tees that are already too long. So the combination of you're already playing a little tee that's a little too long and you just lost another little bit. Let's say you only lose 8 yards on your tee shot, but you also lose 4 yards on your approach shot. Now we're down 12 yards and you're already playing a tee that's already 15 yards too long. It's starting to add up against the player.
Right.
So I am concerned. Here's the thing I trust that I just don't hear in the conversation yet. I trust that the engineers can figure this out, right? I feel the engineers can keep the highest speeds, the players with the highest speed hitting it the furthest within a boundary, and yet figure out a compression or an aerodynamic capacity that does not limit the person who can only hit the ball 100 yards in the air with their driver. That just doesn't make sense to me that the engineers couldn't embed that in there somehow.
You're right. They're going to figure it out.
I think they're going to figure it out. And we have time. Because we have till 2030.
Do you think equipment is a better alternative than the ball?
That's an interesting question.
Because every year they're coming out with something better, some type of material that they're putting in it. Yeah. Oh, to give you forgiveness or whatever TaylorMade's little spill
Golf
is.
Magazine just did an article about what would happen if you played a balata ball with your current equipment, and it was a joke. It's not even close. The gains, the equipment is not. The ball is. So I guess that study was fascinating. Like the ball has changed that dramatically from a balata ball when I grew up to this ball. It's not even close. I'm longer, when like I'm long, I hit my irons longer. I hit my driver 20 yards shorter because I'm not as fast as I used to carry a balata ball 280 in the air. I was a fast player as a kid. Part of the reason I believed I could become a good golfer is because Tom Kite was winning all the money, and Freddie Couples and Davis Love and Greg Norman were hitting the ball a mile. I could hit as far as those guys. So I thought that, boy, I'm going to pass all those Tom Kite guys. It didn't happen, but that's what the game is now. Like everybody hits it a mile. Bottom line is I'm hitting the driver shorter because I lost speed, but my irons are going further because of the ball. The other study, the other study that is, I think, relevant, the Tour did a study years ago of where's the distance coming from when the distance was, was starting to creep. This is going back about 8 to 10 years. And at that time, it was the highest number was 4 yards with any characteristic at that time. I'm going to say there's maybe, it might be as far back as 2010. Like the players were hitting it 20 yards further, let's say, over a 25-year span. Even the same player, Tom Kite, was hitting it as a senior tour player further than he was hitting it when he was a tour member, as an example, right? But it was supposedly like 4.6 yards from the ball and 4.2 yards because the fairways were cut tighter, and and 3.8 yards because of the coefficient of restitution on the face. So it all adds up. But to me, the ball is the big one. It really is. And we're not going to change the fairway. You're not going to require the fairways to be cut higher, right?
You're not going to do the course. You're not going to change the course. The course is the way that it was designed and built. You're not going to. We're even trying to figure out some more length at our place just to have more length in it. Some courses just don't have it. You can stretch it as thin as you can, but that's putting a lot of things into play.
Lou Stagner put up some stats recently, how the average tour, the length of the average course played on tour the past 2 seasons, I think, is down a little bit. The length of the speeds are down a little bit as well, on average.
That's because everybody went to live.
I think the break.
There it is. I was waiting for it.
The big hitters, where are they? The big hitters, where are they?
Outlier.
DJ, I mean, look at them. Kepka, they're all there. Now Rahm.
Here's another thing, though, that I think is interesting about some of the scores. They will say that a hole is, let's just call it 650 yards on a par 5. Yeah. But they're not playing that tee box
100%.
a lot of the times.
Right. Lou has access to that data, so he has access to the course the way it was played, and that's what he published. And that's down from the peak. The peak was a few years ago.
Like when the BMW was at Aronimink, they didn't play the back tees.
No, exactly.
They didn't play them. That's why the scores were like 22 under par.
Exactly.
When it was at
yards. Wilmington Country Club, it was back. I went and walked inside the ropes, and I want to say we walked. They said 7,700 yards. Does that sound right?
Seems a little long.
The tour doesn't play that long. It's an exception. The longest ones are the majors, the U.S. Open and the PGA Championship.
It was 7,000 plus, and my shins hurt for 3 days after walking that. But I'm a cart guy.
You are coming to Frisco. Never mind. I was going to say come to Frisco April. You are coming. That's 7,800.
I'm not.
I don't think we'll play it. We'll probably play 72 if I had to guess, but if the course goes to 78.
Will they let me rent a cart out there?
No chance.
Okay.
No chance.
Just thought I'd ask.
You're going to be walking and following if you're following. You could hang out the pool all day. Dom, is there anything? We're going to wrap this up. We're kind of going long on time here, but is there anything else that you would like to discuss or share with us before we wrap it up?
No, I really appreciate the opportunity, especially on behalf of the First Tee. Really, that was the fun part for me to have the opportunity to talk about them and the work they're doing, and you're part of PGA Reach, PGA Hope, as well. Just to kind of let people know at the holiday season that if you have anything you want to do to help out, in the game of golf, those are two great organizations to keep in mind. That was fun, and I do appreciate you kind of like bringing, helping. Golfers understand that whoever it is, next time they go to the counter and there's an assistant pro behind the counter, that guy has a life,
Yep.
So get to know the people at your club, and they're your family, right? If you're playing at a club, that everybody works there, they're your family. So get to know your family, really. So it was fun.
Nice.
It's great to have you on, Dom. Like I said, you're a great ambassador for the game. People are lucky to have you in the area. Jericho is lucky to have you for 25 years. That's a long time for somebody to be at a club, or maybe it's not. Maybe it's not a long time for an instructor to be, but in my opinion, that's a long time to be there. It's been a great time to have you on, and I look forward to doing some First Tee work with you. We need to put our heads together and see what we can come up with for the year of 2024.
Yeah, Dom, I just want to say thank you as well. You inspired me in multiple ways, and you're making me feel like I don't do enough. And I know why Drew's laughing at that, but you're making me feel like I don't do enough for the game of golf. And thank you for that, because I think that, sometimes we do get a little complacent on, hey, we've done enough. Like, let's just kind of stay where we are. But, it's like you're a top 100 instructor and you're going above and beyond to help grow the game of golf, not just, hey, look at me, I'm over here teaching, come take a lesson. And very inspiring. And I appreciate everything that you do for the game of golf, to represent the game of golf, to represent us as PGA golf professionals. And thank you so much for everything that you do.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me and telling the story of the golf professional.
Happy holidays to you and your family, Dom.
Happy holidays to you.
All
Happy
right.
holidays to all of you. And we'll see you guys next week.